Welcome to Vancouver Business Network, where entrepreneurs learn, network, and grow. I am Roger Killen, the organizer. Our weekly workshop for entrepreneurs is brought to you by TELUS Business, the fastest and most reliable pure fiber broadband network in Metro Vancouver. Our speaker this evening is Patty Kay. Patty is a marketing consultant. She specializes in brand messaging and copywriting. Patty helps her clients sell more of their services by finding the right words to attract customers, stand out from the competition, and clearly convey their value. Patty is the author of a book called The U-Shaped Business: Authentic Marketing for Self-Employed Professionals. Vancouver Business Network and most welcome guests, it's now time for you to give the one and only Patty Kay a warm BBN welcome.
Hello, welcome. Thank you, Roger. All right, so our topic this morning, our topic this evening is Copywriting 101, which is all about how to create better ads, emails, website content, that sort of thing. And interestingly, right before I came on, I had a little conversation with Roger about this term copywriting. It's a little bit jargony. What is copywriting? What does that mean? So first of all, to make sure that you're in the right place, I'll tell you what it's not. It is not this legal thing about protecting what you write. I'm not a lawyer. I don't pretend to be one on the internet. What we're talking about today instead is about words. We are talking about copywriting. This is the official definition, is the activity or occupation of writing the text of advertisements or publicity materials. So it's the words that you use on the things that you create in order to market your business. And the original title for this presentation contained this word secret. And secret is one of those words that a lot of marketers use. And secret is not one of my favorite words, because when I think about the word secret, if it's really a secret, we ought not to be blabbing about it. And secrets often, in terms of marketing, are kind of old, tired advice with a sexy term on it. Come and learn the secrets, and then you find out, oh, it's something that everybody knows. However, when it comes to copywriting, I actually believe that it is a secret. It's one of those things that's in front of us all the time. All day long, we use words in our businesses, and we don't think about the impact that those words have on our marketing materials. And I'll show you why throughout this presentation. But this secret, when you learn some basics of copywriting, and that's what we're talking about today. It's why I called it Copywriting 101. We're going to talk about some real basics, the ABCs, that you can take home today and use immediately. So copywriting, Claude Hopkins, old school copywriter from back in the early 1900s, referred to copywriting as advertising is multiplied salesmanship. It's an incredible opportunity to put those words out there and get them in front of far more people than you can speak to individually. That's what the power is in your copy, in the language that you put out into the world when you're talking about your business. It's really, you're selling your products or your services. And what you'll learn about copywriting tonight will help you with things like your website content, the words that you put on your website. It'll help you if you do direct mail, if you send letters to people, if you send emails to people, all of that is copy for your business. Advertisements, posters, brochures, social media posts. How do you get people to pay attention to your social media posts? How do you get them to read them, to take some interest in them? It's all about copywriting. We talk about writing in terms of putting things in words. It can also apply to video. What do you say when you're on camera? What's the script that you talk about? That's all copywriting as well. Presentations. You can take these things and you can apply them to presentations, to webinars, and even conversations, networking introductions, one-on-one conversations when people ask you about your business. When you go through the effort of putting together some good solid copy for your business, you will get lots of good words and phrases and ways to talk about your business that you can use all over the place. It's more than just typing out some words in order to create some brochures. So that's what copywriting is, that's what it covers. And today, for this presentation, I'm going to talk about 3 things. The first one being 3 myths and mistakes, and also what to do instead. And earlier today, we had this question about asking the audience about where people got stuck with their copywriting. And for a few of the people who mentioned some of those things, you'll see them come out in these myths. That we have this idea of what copywriting actually is and what is good copywriting, and it's not always so. So I'll talk to you about those 3 things that people often mistake copywriting as being about, and we'll talk about what to do instead. I'm going to show you a 3-part template that you can use to create everything. 3 parts, super simple, and you can use it to create the copy on your website. You can use it for presentations. You can do emails, social media posts. You can do anything with it. 3-part template. And I'll challenge you at the end to do 3 things immediately. These are things that you can take action on tonight, tomorrow morning, in order to improve your copy right away. Okay? Before I dive into this, though, I want to share a story with you. A few years ago, I wrote the website content for a business coach. And since that time, he sent me quite a lot of business. And he says, Patty, you have to talk to my client. You have to go in and do that thing that you did to me. You have to go and interview them and find out what they're all about and fix their copy for them. So I went in to see these very nice ladies in their business, and I met with them. And I started to explain my approach to copywriting, which is all about you make it about the clients. You don't make it about you. And they said, oh, you don't have to tell us anything. You don't have to sell us on this idea. We're all over it. And the reason is that's how we chose our business coach. Did he tell you how we came to choose him to be our coach? And I'm like, no. And I want to know, because I like to know, how do people make a buying decision? And they're like, oh, yeah. We were having some problems in our business. We were wanting to grow and expand, and we weren't sure what to do. And we thought, you know what, we should get a business coach. So we asked some people for some referrals. We did a little bit of searching online, and we found a bunch of websites for various business coaches, and we were comparing them. And we got it down to 3. So we had 3 on our short list that we were considering to be our business coach. And then we sat here one night with a bottle of wine. And we had the computer up, and we had 3 tabs open, 1 for each of the coaches. And we flipped back and forth between those tabs, comparing and contrasting. What do they offer? What are they all about? And you know, your guy was the only one who talked about what he could do for us. The other ones, it was all about them. They talked a lot about their credentials and what they did and how they did it and their process. One guy didn't have very much information at all. He just wanted us to call. But that, talking about us, it was like he was inside our head, that he understood what our problems were. He knew exactly what it was that we were looking for. So we called him. Now, my immediate thought when they told me this story is that there are 2 other business coaches out there that were shortlisted to get a new client, and they had no idea that they missed out. Their shortlisting process did not involve calling anybody. It didn't involve any free consultations. They had no idea that they were even being considered. Yet they lost the business because of the copywriting on their website. And I thought, that's really cool. But ever since then, when I ask people about how they buy and how they make a buying decision, I hear this a lot. People research these days. We can get the information online and we go looking for it. So with that in mind, let's talk about how to write some good copy. So first of all, let's look at the three things that you might think about copywriting that aren't actually serving you. Okay? Thing number one is we have this idea that copy should be creative, that marketing is creative. We want something clever, we want something catchy, we want something unique. We're wanting something that's very different from what everyone else has done. And this is these kind of messages are the things that get our friends and our colleagues excited about it. They go, wow, that's really clever, that's really catchy, what a great play on words. But it isn't always the kinds of words that actually sell your products or services. You always want to come back to that. What's the purpose of having copy is to sell what you do. So it's not necessarily creative. Now with all of theseness, you'll see a little germ of truth in there, because if you can have a little bit of creative in there, that adds like a nice spice to it, but it's not necessary. Copy does not have to be creative. If we look at these people that we were talking about here, that were making their decision, they were not looking for the most unique, they were not looking for the most creative, they were not looking for the best logo, they weren't looking for the right shade of orange. I've had clients get caught up in this kind of stuff all the time. What's the right logo? What's the right color scheme? That's not what these people were looking at. They weren't looking at rhymes or clever turns of phrase. That wasn't how they were making their decision. It wasn't about being unique. A lot of people push back and they go, I don't want to call myself a coach, because everyone's a coach. But when you put some other language around coach to come up with something that's unique, you confuse people. And they're like, I don't know what that is. Is that a business coach? And if they are searching online and you don't use the term business coach and they're looking for business coach, they're not even going to find you. So this is the absolute worst result that you want from any kind of marketing that you put out there, is to have the people who are interested in buying from you say, I don't get it. I don't get it. It goes right over their heads. Your friends might love it. Your colleagues might love it. But if your potential clients don't get it, you're not even through the door. So that's thing number one about the cleverness. This is one of my heroes, David Ogilvy. If you ever watch Mad Men, this is the fellow that John Draper was based on. So he, advertising, and if it doesn't sell, it isn't creative. And this was one of the things that he was railing about in terms of advertisement way back in the day, is that too much focus on creativity, not enough focus on being clear. So confused people don't buy. So the first thing that you want your copy to be is clear. Clear, easy to understand. If you have a choice between clarity or cleverness, go for clarity. This is about educating, it's about explaining, using the kind of language that your ideal clients will use, avoiding jargon, talking in a way that people will get it. That's kind of the first thing, is people have to understand what it is that you're talking about. Because that's what these ladies were looking for. It's like, do you offer what we're looking for? That's the question that they had in their mind. Can you help us? Myth number two is that copy is all about self-promotion. It's all about me, 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 me. And once again, not what these people were looking for. And also, once again, it's part of it. It is a little bit about you, but it's not all about you. So there's a balance in here. And they're not looking for that. In fact, that was one of the complaints that they made. This one is all about them. It's all about them. It's not about us. People who are claiming that they're the best in the world, claiming that they're experts. Sometimes when you hear that stuff and people say those things about themselves, it sounds maybe a little braggy. So a lot of my clients feel better when I tell them, you know what, it's not really about self-promotion. Instead, it's about focusing on your clients. So people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. People don't care about you and your credentials and your process and how you do things until they know that you can help them. That's the first step. After they realize that you can help them and they're in that comparison mode, then yes, now they want to know a little bit about your credentials and about your process, but that's not the thing that they're looking for at the outset. The first thing they want to know is, can you help me? So the second thing that you need in order to have good copy is to make it client-centered. Make it all about the people that you help. And to do this, you have to know who they are and what their problems are and what they're looking for. But when you know that, you can use those clear words to speak directly to what it is that they want. And this is all centered around what's in it for me. If you just look at your copy, at your language that you use to describe your business from the perspective of the person who wants to buy from you, what do they want to know? What are they asking? What are they looking for? And you feed that back to them. That gives you that effect of, wow, they know exactly what's inside my head. And that's what they were looking for. What will you do for us? We have a problem. We want that problem to be solved. Can you help us? And you really want to not make them work. Just give them the information straight up so that they know. Number 3 about copy, this one is so pervasive, is that copy needs to be short. How many of you have heard something like, nobody's going to read all that? Or the often quoted stat about people having a shorter attention span than goldfish. I mean, first of all, it's kind of not a nice thing to be thinking about your potential clients, that nobody is going to read all of that. And once again, bottle of wine, taking the time to research. They're not looking for who has the fewest number of words or who has the shortest video. They're looking for the information that they're looking for. And next time somebody tells you that we don't have the attention span of a goldfish, how do you explain binging on shows? How do you explain people that sit and watch? They've got their attention on something for hours and hours and hours. We will pay attention if you're engaging us, if we're interested in what you're saying. And you can't bore people into buying from you. And the third piece of writing good copy is to make it compelling, which doesn't mean that it has to be entertaining. You don't have to compete with TV, but you do have to speak to the interests of the people that are going to buy from you. And you can do this through stories, through case studies, through examples, and keeping in mind that what people are going for, what they want, the problems that they're struggling with, their own lives are not boring to them. So when you talk about them and their life and their situation, they find that compelling because it's about them and it's not about you. And this is the key to all of this, is whenever you're putting anything in writing, anything on video, anything out there for your business, there is only one person whose opinion matters. And that's the person who is going to be your next client or customer. That's the one you're writing for. You're not trying to convince people that aren't interested to buy from you. You want to capture the attention of the people who need what you have to offer and explain what you do in a way that they get. And they're the ones that are interested. So when you keep those people in mind when you're writing the copy, then you won't get led astray. But too often what we do is we get an opinion from somebody else. We get it from our colleague, from somebody we know at a business networking event, even from a coach or a consultant, a spouse. Every time I try to run my copy past my husband, he always tells me it's too long. Like that's it. Nobody's going to read all that because he doesn't want to read all that because he's not interested, because he's not my ideal client. But the same person who tells me, oh, it's too long, no one's going to read all of that. One day I walk in, I look at him in his office, and he's frustrated, and he's scrolling up and down the screen on the computer. And I'm like, what's going on? He says, I want to know if I should buy this plugin or not. And it's not giving me enough information. I won't know if it's going to do this thing that I'm wanting to do. It's a $27 plugin. But they're missing out on his credit card because they're not giving him the information that he's looking for. And that's somebody who will say, nobody will read all of that because it's too long. So the only opinion you want is your ideal client. And what they want to know, answer our questions, give us the details, show us how this is going to work. We have questions, give us the answers. Let us get to know you. How can you help us? So these are the three elements that you want to look for when you're putting together your copy. You want it clear, crystal clear, easy to understand, simple language, plain language. We get too fancy with our language sometimes. We want to find the exact right word, and we end up with really long words that make us stop and think. They might be perfect words, but when we hear them, if we have to stop and process and go, okay, what exactly does catalyst mean? It stops us. We want something that's clear, easily understandable. We want to make it all about the client. What is it that they're looking for? What are they struggling with? What do they want? Make it about them. And we want to make it compelling. Give them some examples, tell some stories, make it interesting, and keep it focused on them. We're interested in ourselves. We're very self-centered beings, us humans. We're interested in our own lives and our own wants and desires and problems. So when you talk about that stuff, people find it compelling. They're interested because it's about them. Yes?
If your audience was other than Canadian, would your advice be the same?
If my audience was other than Canadian, would my advice be the same? I think so. I mean, I'm not an expert in speaking with other cultures, but I think at the end of the day, what we're talking about in terms of marketing or selling what you're selling is you're wanting to make it clear. You want to make it clear that what you're doing or what you're offering can help that other people. And I can't think of a situation where that would be unwelcome. I mean, there might be some ways that you would say it, maybe some things that you would avoid saying in order to be culturally sensitive or aware. But at the end of the day, if you're selling something, you need to make it pretty clear that that's going to be useful to the person who's buying. So there's the overview of what good copy needs to look like. It's in that intersection, clear, client-centered, and compelling. So I'm going to show you a 3-part template of how to remember to do this and how to put together your copy. And the template begins with understanding how people buy. If you're going to make something client-centered, think about your people. How are they making that buying decision? And there are 4 stages that we go through when we make a buying decision. Next time you think about buying anything, take a look at your own thought process and see how this applies. The very first stage is attention. We need to know that something exists before we can possibly buy it. And we are bombarded by people trying to get our attention, by advertisements. If you, if you flip through the newspaper and you look at a bunch of advertisements, if you drive down the highway and you see all of the billboards, all of those things are trying to get your attention. Attention is the first step. And we're only interested in some of those things that we see. The second stage is interest. And interest is like, oh, tell me more about that. And when we're interested, we're curious. We have questions. We want to know more. That's the second stage. The third stage is desire. At some point, we know enough about what it is that we're contemplating buying that we either want it or we don't. And Amazon has a wish list feature for a reason. Desire is not enough. The final stage is action. And action is when we order something, when we take out the credit card, when we give somebody a call. That's action. That's the 4th step. Now, to give you a really simple example, think about grocery shopping. I can go into a grocery store and think about all of the things that are on the shelves, all of the things that you buy, and all of those things that you ignore. You walk past those aisles, thousands of food products, and you only look at some of them. Only some of them get your attention. So for me, it's like, oh, chocolate gets my attention. Next stage, interest. Is this going to be good chocolate, or is this going to be the crappy stuff that's full of chemicals? I have questions. I want to know. I want to know how much it's going to cost. I want to know what's in it. Take a look at it. Read the ingredient label. And then I'm like, okay, do I want this or not? Most of the time, I want it. If it doesn't have the chemicals in it, it's going in my cart. That's the desire. And maybe between putting it in my cart and getting to the checkout, I come to my senses and I say, Patty, you don't need any more chocolate. And most of the time I don't. So I go and I take the action and I pay for it. Really simple. Attention, interest, desire, action happening over and over and over again. Sometimes really quickly. Sometimes it takes a long time. When my husband bought his car, it took him about 9 months. He was in the interest stage for about 9 months before he decided what it was that he wanted to buy. Went through those stages slowly, but that's what they do. Yes?
When you're in the interest part and you have to write the content, are you a believer in putting down facts or putting down a personal story?
When you...
Some people just say that people connect more to a story rather than facts.
Okay, just have a great question about when you're in the interest stage and you're writing the copy, about whether or not people connect more with the facts or the stories. And my answer is yes, both. I'll talk about that more in just a moment. Yeah. So when we look at how people buy, what you want to do with your copy is you want to follow it. Okay. So you want your copy to follow how people buy, how they make a decision. So the first thing you want to do is get their attention. That's that attention-grabbing headline. So this is the first part of your copy template, is to have an attention-grabbing headline. And what that's meant to do is A, to capture their attention, and B, and this is the important part, get the people who are interested to read more. Not everybody is going to be interested in that headline, but that's what that's the purpose of the headline, is to answer that question. Is this for me? Okay. The second piece is that body piece that we talked about for the interest. And this is a longer piece. Like, it depends on how much you're talking about, what you're selling. You can have long copy, great big long sales pages. You can have really short copy, and I'll show you some examples in a few moments. But the middle part is the body part, B, with benefits. And benefits is all about what's in it for the client. Okay, and we'll talk about that in detail in just a moment. And the purpose of that is providing enough information so that people can decide whether or not they want it, whether or not it's right for them, whether or not they want to take this further. And that leads us to C, which is the call to action, which calls them to take action. I'm going to go into each one of these pieces individually, but that's the overview of it. Attention-grabbing headline, a body that talks about what's in it for them, and a final call to action. This is the template you can apply to everything. You can apply this to a social media post. A headline that grabs their attention, a little bit of information about why they should pay attention to it, and like it, share it, click here to read it, come to the event. It can be really short sometimes it can be longer. So let's look at attention-grabbing headlines first. Headlines, when I use this term headlines, comes from newspapers. Some of you are old enough to remember them. Big type at the front of a newspaper is a headline. More frequently, we think about this as maybe the big type on the front of your website. Key place to have a good headline, by the way. It's the subject line of an email. It's the first thing that people see. Subject line of email. It's the biggest text on anything that you put in printing. So if it's a business card, if it's a poster, if it's a postcard, any kind of a handout, a rack card, whatever it is that you have, the biggest piece of text on it, that's the headline. It's where attention is drawn. The stand-up banner things. Your headline is going to be the biggest piece. The attention-grabbing piece is the headline. Okay? And what you want that to do is answer the question, is this for me? From your ideal client's perspective. If a prospective client took a look at whatever it was that you put in front of them, are they going to go, yes, that's for me. You got my attention and I'm interested in learning more. That's the purpose of that piece. And there's 3 ways that you can do this in terms of getting sales. The first one is to talk about a problem that they are encountering. When we have a problem, we will notice when somebody talks about it. If you have a blinding headache and you see something that says have a headache, you're going to pay attention to it. So problem is first. So talk about their problem. And you don't have to be clever, you don't have to be creative, you just have to name that problem because that's what they're looking for. And a lot of times it's enough to tell, you don't have to sell, especially when you're looking at emails and subject lines. So tired of feeling tired is a simple headline that talks about a problem. How to stop procrastinating. That would get my attention. The 3 mistakes that broke people make. Why you can't lose those last 5 pounds, end public speaking anxiety, helps to match the headline to the business that you are in. So if you help people with their public speaking anxiety, ending public speaking anxiety could be something that you talk to them about. Tired of breaking into a flop sweat when you're at the front of the stage. You're just talking about what's going on for them. The headlines that talk about problems can attract attention. On the flip side of problems, you have what do they want instead? The desires, the things that people want. And these are typically things around finances, money, success, achievement, family, fitness, health. These are the kinds of things that people want. And if they are wanting those things and looking for them, you can speak to the desires. It's another way to catch attention. So find your true love. If you're a relationship or dating coach, it might be something like find your true love, find the guy of your dreams, find the girl of your dreams, whatever. 7 secrets to perfect abs. How to get your kids to behave. I know some people that would really respond to something like that. Reach your goals and achieve your dreams. What do people say to you that they want? Make $1 million by next week. We get a lot of people's attention. But you're talking about what it is that they want. And you're matching that up, of course, to what it is that you actually offer in your business. And the third way you can grab attention is to name a person individually or to name a group that they belong to. We notice that we belong to a group, or someone calls us out by name, and that's going to get our attention. So you might say, hey, Roger, this is for you. It's going to get Roger's attention. For VBN members only. If you identify as a VBN member, you may pay attention to that. 3 tips for success as a CPA. If you're a CPA, that's going to mean something to you. And jargon, by the way, is totally okay. If you use jargon that is directly related to the clients that you work with. Professional speaker, call them out. Astronaut food. There's such a thing. I researched space food for sale. Eat like an astronaut. Now, you want to, when we're thinking about getting attention, you're going to want to avoid a mistake that I made very early on in my marketing career. The headline that you use really needs to be related to what it is that you're offering. Now, it says, vote Patty for student council president. And this might not be the best example because it totally worked. I mean, either it was the brilliant marketing campaign or the fact that I was the only person running. But really, you want your headline to be related to what it is that you offer. This, by the way, is called clickbait, and I was doing it in 1977. So when you get their attention, the next piece is this body piece with benefits. And this is where you're answering their question. You have their attention, they're interested, they want to know more. So this is the part where you explain it. And to go back to the question from earlier, this is about facts, but this can also be about stories. This can be about answering questions. There can be, this middle piece can be really, really, really long depending on what it is you're selling and what kind of copy you're writing. So it's answering their questions in terms of the things that people are thinking. They say getting inside their heads. What do they want to know? They want to know, how does this work? Can I trust you? Will this work for me? Think about the questions that your ideal clients would have, and then you answer them. Sometimes quite literally, frequently asked questions. This is what people ask. This is the answer. And benefits is the word that I use to describe what you talk about in this this piece of it. And the benefit is really, features are facts and details. They're about you. They're about your product. They're about your service. They're the things that your product does, the features of it. The benefits are what the clients get from it. So if you can just imagine that people are saying, why should I care? What is that going to do for me? So to give you some examples, 24/7 service is a feature. What might the benefit be? What would a client get out of 24/7 service?
100% uptime.
100% uptime. This is audience participation.
Complete reliability.
Complete reliability. If you had complete reliability, how would you feel?
Comfortable. Safe.
Feeling comfortable, feeling safe, getting help when you need it. This is how you convert your features into benefits, is to say, so that, why should I care? Looking at it from your client's perspective. Weekly 1-hour coaching sessions for people who offer coaching. That's a feature. What's the benefit of that? For me? Constant updates.
Regular support.
Regular support. Accountability. You stay accountable and take action towards your goals. That's what you get out of having those coaching sessions. Don't make people think. Draw it out for them. Tell them what they're going to get from it. Printable worksheets, another feature. What that's going to do, it's going to help them do something. Easily create sales materials if they're printable worksheets for sales. Keep it handy. Tack it up in front of you. Built-in WordPress. We have some technical people in the room. What would be a benefit of built-in WordPress or not built-in WordPress?
They can edit it themselves.
They can edit it themselves. You can make changes yourself. If I get hit by a bus tomorrow, you can find someone else who can work WordPress and can look after your site for you. 3 colors to choose from. That's a feature. What's the benefit? Pardon me?
Flexibility. Pick one that's right for you.
Pick the one that's right for you.
Personalization.
Suit your personality, choose your favorite color, match your outfit, match your shoes, match your decor.
Reflect your mood.
Reflect your mood. So for every feature that you have, think about what's the benefit, what do clients get out of it. And going back to the myths, talking about the self-promotional aspect of it and how do you put yourself out as an expert. An excellent way to do this is, rather than for you to say it yourself, is to get testimonials and have your clients say it for you. That can be a great way to establish your expertise, is to have your clients write things in the testimonials and use that to convey your expertise. And if you feel shy about self-promotion, this is a great way to do it, because your clients can say nice things about you. And it has that social proof that people get value out of what you're doing. In this case, this is someone who's running for a leadership role. So there's lots of comments in here about how she's a fantastic leader and a great mentor. And she could say, I'm a fantastic leader and I'm a great mentor. And if she said that as often as she has testimonials on this page, it would sound really self-centered. So testimonials can be a great way to convey your expertise. And finally, when you've done the middle part and explained what's in it for them, why you answered all of their questions, the final piece is the call to action. And that's when you're inviting them to do something. And what that call to action is going to depend on where you're writing this copy. Because remember, you can put it all over the place. I talk a lot about website, but this applies to small advertisements, to posters, to emails, to social media posts. The call to action is what do you want them to do next. And it might be about buying. It could be that you're telling them to buy now, or to subscribe, or to book an appointment, or to call you, to fill in a form, to visit your website, to read the article, to share it. What do you want them to do next? It's interesting how often this is forgotten by people, is they have all of the information there, but they don't actually tell people how to take action and how to hire them and what they need to do next, or explain what that process is. So that's the third piece of the template. Now here is, it doesn't have to be clever, it doesn't have to be fancy. This is one of the best pieces of marketing content I've ever seen. I've snapped a photo of this. It was hung up in the lobby of the building where I live. Need a babysitter. attention-grabbing headline. And the only people who are going to pay attention to need a babysitter are people who need a babysitter. It's a pretty obvious thing. And so it grabs their attention. It grabbed my attention because I'm in marketing. I don't have kids, but I still paid attention because it's like, that's a good piece of marketing. The middle piece, the body with the benefits, not phrased so much in benefits, but they did answer questions that people would have. Canadian Red Cross certified, 2 years experience, reasonable hourly rates. You know what those are? Those are the questions that somebody would immediately have. Oh, yes, I need a babysitter, but can I trust them when my kids still be alive when I get home? That's what they want to know. Couple of short lines that explain that. A call to action. Yasmin and her phone number. And even little tear-off strips at the bottom, which just melted my heart, because bonus points, measurement, we can tell that ad worked because the strips are torn off. She's actually measuring the effectiveness of the copy. I'm sure that Jasmine has a very successful babysitting service. Really, really simple, really short. So this is an example. This is a poster. This is something you can print off in your printer and hang up in a Starbucks kind of thing. Really simple, but it follows the template. That's what makes it effective. And look at this. This is a page for appointment scheduler. And so interesting. I was talking to somebody today who booked an appointment with me through my online scheduler. And he's like, that's really neat. This is really cool. It saves all those back and forth emails. And what do they have here? Helps you schedule meetings without the back and forth emails. They're using the language that the people who buy the service use. It's direct, it's to the point. And they're saying right in there, get started for free, no credit card required, answering the questions that people have, enter your email, click the sign up button. Super short, very effective. When you look at advertisements, you're never going to look at them the same way after tonight, right? Take a look, see what they're doing, okay? These are short ones. This is long. This is a very long sales page for a program that I'm running with a partner. We have an attention-grabbing headline. We have about, 5,000 words of text in the middle where we go through all of the details for it. Super long sales page, ending in a call to action. What do you do if you're interested? You fill in the form to talk to us. Same format, much longer, but you can apply this to anything. You can apply this to an email, attention-grabbing subject line, something in the body that speaks to what that person wants to hear, and then what do they do next? Click to read the post, hit response, give me an answer, buy something. So that's a 3-part template. And finally, I'm going to challenge you to do 3 things right away. Super easy to do, and these will help you improve your copy. Thing number 1, take a look at your headlines and see if you can make them better. Look at everything that you're putting out there, look at the biggest text that you've got, and see if you can do better than what you have now. I'm not going to call anybody out here, but I did a search on Google for welcome to my website, and got 3.5 billion results. This is a very, 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 very common thing for people to put on their website as the headline. The headline that when people land on your website, they give you about 7 seconds to know whether or not you are, that site is for them. Welcome to my website. Very, very popular choice. Not really good. It doesn't grab attention. It doesn't say anything. So if you've got welcome to my website, change it. The other thing people do on their website, big old picture of their logo. Graphic designers in here, make the logo bigger. One of the requests that clients often have, that logos, taglines, cleverness is often about you, not about the client. So a great big logo, great big company name. Another thing that people will put in the headline of their website, the name of their company. Instead, even something as simple as we sell anvils is better than Acme. And it's way better than welcome to my website. You can start small. You can make things better. You can get advanced points, say something like buy an anvil, get free shipping. Right? Or you could go over to crush the Roadrunners or something like that. That's the first thing. Take a look at your headlines. Number two, this is about making things client-centered. Take a look at everything that you put out and count the number of times that you use I, we, me, or your company name, and replace them with you. And what this will force you to do is think about it from the client's perspective. It'll force you to think in terms of features and benefits, or benefits rather than features, and what people get out of it. And the ratio of how many times you talk about yourself versus how many times you talk about you or your client will give you some idea of how client-centered your copy is or is not. So take those I's, we's, my company, replace it for you. And with that, what's in it for me? Every time you say something about yourself, what's in it for me? The client is saying, okay, you shared that with me. Why should I care? What's that going to do for me? Might force you to think a little bit, but it is so helpful to put yourself in your client's shoes and to think the way that they do. So this will make things more client-centered. And then finally, if you're missing these, add a call to action. Any one of, what do you want them to do next? Spell it out, make it clear. Don't make people think. And that is the end of my presentation. Yes, questions, of course. My call to action is to visit my website at pattyk.com. Do we have any questions? Happy to take questions. What does the K stand for? It's highly secret. It's a witness protection thing. Actually, it's a divorce thing. I got the K, he got the rest of the letters. What else do you have for me? I'm a woman of mystery. Yes. I do workshops and training, and in fact, when the camera gets shut off for VBN members only, I have something coming up, and I'm going to tell you. I do this marketing, messaging, consulting, and copywriting. This is what I help my clients with. I offer free consultations. If you want to talk to me about your copy or your messaging, happy to do that. No questions? Wow.
Patty, the reason there are no questions is because you mesmerized us all. So thank you. Thank you very, very much. Move over.
Share my box with you.
Can we into the box? We'll share the box. And tell us, thank you very much for making this production possible.
Thank you, Talis. We love you.
And thank you all.